Hello, everybody, and welcome to this segment of HCAM Sports Talk. Tom Nappi here, and for this segment, I am joined by the voice of Milford and Nipmuc, Steve Watson. We got independent reporter Jared Keene, and we got Morgan Donahue from Westwood Media Center with us today to talk some sports. Guys, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Good to be back. Good to be
Morgan,
back.
welcome to the show. It's Morgan's first time on the show, so we're glad to have him be part of the crew. And fortunately, we didn't fire Andy. He just couldn't make this show, so he'll be back another episode. But we got Morgan with us, and he'll be joining us hopefully for more than just this episode if he's not too horrified. So we look forward to having Morgan on the crew. But guys, I want to start off. There's a lot of topics to get to. It's been a while since we had a show like this where we could rant about all the sports happenings. But right now, we're in the midst of the winter postseason for MIAA, and it has been an absolute doozy. Morgan, you cover Westwood. They've had some great runs throughout this season, and I understand you were at a game last night for the Westwood girls. How did that go?
Yeah. So before that game, it was Zavarian versus Barnstable on one rink, and that was the rink the girls are going to play on. The other rink had St. John's, Shrewsbury, and Hingham. And I'm telling you guys, it was probably 3,000 people in the Canton Ice House. And you had to park down the street, then to be down the street to be like within, a half a mile of the rink. I've never seen anything like it, but it just reminds me that what a special time of year. Playoff hockey in Massachusetts, there's nothing better. I am a little biased. Tom and we're big hockey guys, but it's awesome. Girls, Westwood girls, the one seed out of, for Division two girls. We got to call a couple games, Tom and myself this year, and they're awesome. They got this girl, Kate Sullivan, who is got 178 points. She's 2 points away from tying my sister, who has the record at Westwood, which is going to be really cool. But they have now moved on to the round of 8, and it's been a while since they've gone there, and they have so much different combinations on this team. They have 4 8th graders that are tremendous. They also have good senior leadership, and then they got the players in the middle that are complementary. Great on the special teams and great depth players too. So very exciting. There's nothing more exciting. And Tom, I'd have to ask your feedback. Where when you just see a team that you cover and you see like a potential to go a long way, there's nothing more exciting, especially if you covered them from the beginning of the season and have those conversations about like how do you guys feel about the year, like what are some of the games you're most excited for, what are your goals, and then to see kind of all those things they say go into fruition. And now we're sitting on the doorstep of the round of 8, and they're still going to get the last change as the number 1 seed. Remarkable. So it was a great game last night. 3-0 win for Westwood over Leominster, who Tom got to see them play the Hillers this year. Good team. And Westwood will play Auburn on Thursday in Watertown. So it was a great night, productive night, and nothing better than playoff hockey this time of year.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think you guys are going to have your hands full with Auburn. They're a very good program, but Westwood just loaded with talent. I'll be surprised if Westwood's not at the Garden this year, seeing how they look. Very good team. But that Auburn program, that should be a fun matchup you got in the next round. But this is the time of year where it's just amazing memories, amazing games, buzzer beaters, overtimes. I was at Medway and Hudson Saturday night over at Pirelli Veterans Arena. What a game that was. Went to double overtime. Unfortunately, Medway came up short, but it was just a great game all around. Very physical, got a little chippy, great action. The atmosphere was unreal. Place was packed. You just can't beat it. And Steve, I know you covered Milford the other day. They had a nice win. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I was over at Nipmuc on Tuesday, too. They played Auburn, then got bounced on Friday by Abington. So their run's all done. Then was it Milford Thursday? They played Longmeadow. So, 16 versus 17 matchup. You'd think, that should be pretty tight, pretty close. After one quarter's 9-9, both teams kind of feeling each other out, maybe feeling themselves out too. Slow start. Milford's had some slow starts in games this year. They managed to bounce back in a lot of them, though. It's kind of as expected. They just opened it up in the second and third, built up a humongous lead, and just ran away with it, which I don't think anyone was really expecting. You wouldn't expect that in a 16 versus 17 matchup.
Oh, and I should have emphasized he's talking Milford boys basketball.
Basketball, yes.
Yes. We kind of went from hockey to basketball there.
We did.
Yeah, Milford, I mean, they're a gritty team. I got to see them against Hopkinton, a really good team, and a team that could put up a lot of points in a very short amount of time. So it sounds like, Steve, that's what happened in that Longmeadow game.
Yeah, that's what happened. They only had 9 after the first quarter. Then they finished the game with 73. So,
wow.
They've done that several times this year. Started slow. Again, feel the opponent out, feel themselves out, figure out what's going to work in that matchup, and they managed to pull out the win. They go to have a tough game tomorrow night, Tuesday at Malden Catholic, the top overall seed, and they won the whole thing last year, so they'll have their hands full tomorrow. But
MC still in D2.
Yeah, D2. Yeah, they're still in D2.
Yeah,
Milford's played Malden before, haven't they? Recently?
No, they haven't played Malden Catholic. No, they have not played them. So
are they one of those pesky private schools that can recruit?
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of those in around the greater Boston area.
Certainly a couple of teams that really should be in D1. I mean, Catholic Memorial, football. That's like the glaring obvious one, but MC, when it comes to basketball, I mean, they would be a top 5, top 4 team in Division 1.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Medfield lacrosse.
And they can recruit. They can go around the state and get whoever they want.
Medfield lacrosse is D3, and they'd be a top 5 team in the state in Division 1. It's I think they got to each year, or each couple of years, I think they really need to look closely at that because especially like you said, Tom, where you can recruit, it's what's fair, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the teams that can recruit, they got to be a division up.
And Morgan, you are right. It's based on a 2-year cycle, so
yeah,
I don't know if it started this year or last year, but everyone's locked into a 2-year cycle. They reevaluate. A lot is based on the school size, but like we all know that like Catholic Memorial is a Division I school in every school. Or they should be anyway.
Well, look at I think it was Norwood a couple of years ago. They got Springfield Central in the championship or something like that, and they just got blown out, both the boys and the girls.
I remember that. Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, too, guys. So they do have size obviously is a factor, but Westwood girls lacrosse had been Division I for 23 years, 16,000 person town. So that was the consideration of just the team being good had been factored into that for all those years. And, they kept winning, so they obviously stayed. They did move to D2 last year, though. There was a decision made. But D2 girls lacrosse is tremendous. When you have Notre Dame, Westwood, and I think there was another team, might have been not Wellesley, but another one. Those would give the Division I teams a run for their money, which is how talented they are. But I mean, the size is one thing, but if you have a team that year over year over year is dominant, it's the right move.
Yeah, I absolutely wholeheartedly have to agree with you on that one. And to finish up the thought on Milford, nice to get a win on home court. There was some drama with that off the court drama, totally unnecessary. So my message to everyone out there, if you're going to a playoff game, doesn't matter the sport, if you can't control yourself, you can't behave, stay home. Don't go. That's all.
Don't go. And I had to change my background. I had my news background on. So now I'm in my space station.
That's a nice background, Tom.
That is nice, actually. I do like that.
Oh, thank you. Jared, now I know you did some lacrosse work and a couple other sports, football, the New England Football Journal. Did you do anything over the winter for coverage?
No, winter is the one sport I'm not reporting these days, which is kind of weird because hockey and football are like 2 of my favorite sports. I mean, not football, hockey and basketball. Basketball is probably my favorite sport overall. But so I report for the New England Football Journal in the fall and BostonLax.net in the spring.
Nice.
We'll have to talk with your agent. Maybe we can get you out there for TVL sports coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love that. Yeah. I mean, I love basketball. I love hockey. Winter's a great season too. So a lot of memories from the winter over the years. But yeah, no, it's just I do work a lot these days though. I work full time at Target here in Milford, and yeah, no, it's a lot.
So if you want to
But
say hi to Jared, go down to Target. He'll sign autographs for nothing.
yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of me though. I do a pretty stressful, demanding job, but it's fun. You know,
People come up to you and they're like, "Hey, you're the guy on HCAM Sports Talk."
I do recognize a lot of people. Yes.
There you go.
Not necessarily from HCAM Sports though, but just like from Milford and stuff from over the years and different. Like I
Yeah.
saw Matt Baker. I saw Matt Baker there recently, the Holliston AD. I
You're
saw
supposed to
Tanner.
make the show look good. You're supposed to say, "Of course, it's because of HCAM."
Yeah, no, I've seen Kristen Igo from Franklin Girls Lacrosse. I've seen Tanner Guarino from Natick Girls Lacrosse. I've
She was
seen.
just
I mean, you've been
calling
around the block
she called the
covering.
BC game the other night. That was what my niece plays for UMass, and she was on the call with on ESPN Plus, and I couldn't believe she does both. So she calls a couple of the BC games, and then obviously getting ready for the Franklin girls lacrosse season coming up. It's
Well,
pretty
she's
cool.
obviously a fantastic player, and she's just a
Yeah.
tremendous coach too. I mean, she's
Oh
done a
yeah,
great job with that program.
big
She's
time.
top tier in my
Yeah,
book.
big
But
time.
you know, and I mean, you look at like Lincoln Sudbury and stuff. You know, and Wellesley. You mentioned Wellesley. Wellesley girls lacrosse has been really good the
Yeah,
last few
their
years.
power.
They're
So
so good.
on the UMass team that my niece plays for, they got two Westwood girls. They got Katie Peterson from Franklin, who was a stud. I don't know if you remember her. She used to take the
Yeah,
face-offs and
yeah.
big time
She was
goal.
really good. She was a good basketball player too.
Yeah, great athlete. We got a couple good girls from Walpole. So it's pretty cool. It's like you see these kids playing, and then there's a good chance they're going to be either at UMass, BC, or the just the talent itself locally. It's unbelievable how kids are going to Division I top teams straight out of high school. It's
Yeah.
without having to go to prep school. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, Franklin basketball. They're always in the mix. Unreal.
Well, the girls were really good for a long time. I think the boys are really good this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I'm
Um,
trying to look at the brackets right now. See, yep, Franklin's still in there. They're going to the round to 8. They'll be
Oh,
taking on North Andover tonight. Actually, that game already started. It's well underway. Started at 6 o'clock. And we are recording on a Monday, by the way, so it started Monday night. But why don't we take a gander at the TVL playoff situation? We know there's a lot of TVL fans in town. Here's boys basketball. If you see the team in red, they are out. They've been eliminated. But for boys basketball D2, we got Norwood still very much alive. They'll be taking on Doherty Tuesday the 4th. So by the time the show airs, that game would have happened. And then Wednesday night, Norton takes on Old Rochester in round of 16 action. And then on the girls' side, we got a number of teams still alive in the TVL. On the girls' side, you got Medfield, who's been outstanding,
yeah.
dominated Holliston in the round of 32 matchup. They got Bishop Fenwick coming up Wednesday night, 6 p.m. tip-off. And then Morgan's Westwood Wolverines taking on Northampton. Tuesday, March 4th, 6 p.m. tip-off. You been doing any research about that Northampton team?
No, I saw Coach Clifford at the boys hockey game over the weekend, and she said that they either in the same league as Longmeadow or they played each other in the regular season. So that Longmeadow was a team they played in the round of 32. So it sounded like she said similar offense, very aggressive when it comes to the full court press. But I think Westwood loves when they see that. They have such good athleticism to kind of break through it and to turn it into offense, quick points. Interesting tidbit, Tom. Westwood wins, Medfield wins. They'll be facing off each other in the round of 8. So
I
something
will
to keep an
be at
eye
that
on.
game for TVL Sports. You can
Yeah.
guarantee that. That'll
In
be
the
fun.
Norwood boys taking on Doherty. Doherty knocked Westwood out. But I did get a chance to call Norwood Westwood basketball this year. Wolverines won on a buzzer beater, and I think Hopkinton beat them on a buzzer beater too. So a
Yes.
couple of bad buzzer beater games versus our our teams.
A senior
But
night buzzer beater, I might
oh
add.
my goodness, yeah, senior night in Westwood too. So there's some senior night buzzer beaters, but Norwood is a spectacular team, very talented, very athletic. They have a kid who's about 6'10". He is a monster out there. He probably had about 3 dunks versus Westwood.
Yeah,
Um,
they lost. They got upset, or that was the girls actually. The boys didn't.
yes, girls lost for in the first game, the 30 seed.
Yeah, Tewksbury. You never know in these playoffs. You really
No,
don't. Throw the seeding, throw the records out the window.
yeah,
You know,
it,
it's one game.
yeah.
Division three, we got Medway, very much alive. Another great basketball program. They're always in there. They got 13 seeded Old Rochester coming up, and then 9 seeded Norton will be against East Bridgewater, and then 19 seeded Bellingham. Nice win against Dedham, upset win for the girls. They got Norwell coming up, and then last but not least, you got the Millis girls having a good season, and they're always a team that goes really far in the postseason as well. They'll have Wacona coming up. And then moving down to hockey, boys hockey, we got 3 teams left. We got Medfield, who advanced to the round of 8, a nice win against Linfield. They'll be taking on a good Melrose program. Time and date to be announced for that one. And then you got Dover, Sherborne, and Dedham. So one of the TVL teams will fall as Dover, Sherborne, and Dedham meets up. I believe that game is going to be Wednesday night at 6 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, but check your brackets.
That's gonna be a terrific game. Wow, those two teams are physical, talented, good D. Both teams have good goalies, so I mean that's probably gonna be a 1-0 game, I bet, and it most likely might be an overtime game too. We've been seeing a lot of those, Tom.
Yes. I don't know who's going to win that game. It's going to be a close one. Both teams could score as well, but
Yeah.
the goaltenders are so good. I tend to agree with you, Morgan. I think it'll be lower scoring. And then also in girls hockey, we got Morgan's Westwood Wolverines very much alive, getting ready for their big game against Auburn in the round of 8. First seeded Westwood will, of course, host. And then 13 seeded Medfield will be on the road against Burlington. Now, if Medfield wins and Westwood wins, I believe they meet up next round.
You're right. And so I talked to the Medfield coach, Tom, after the day after they beat the Hillers. And I said, what you guys did was impressive. I mean, I've watched the Hillers multiple games, and McPherson's the best player I saw all season as a skater. Coito was the best goaltender that I had seen all year up until the Longmeadow goalie last night. She was unbelievable. Terrific goaltender. But Coito's an eighth grader. And they shut out the Hillers. I think it was like 3-0, 4-0. And they basically, he told me that they knew every time McPherson was going to be on the ice, and they shadowed her. They kind of did like what we used to call in hockey a left wing lock, where just put one person on that player, just eliminate them from the game. Be in their hip pocket the whole time and let everyone else. If you're going to, lose, it's going to be the other players. And they did a terrific job. They had the McDonald cousins on her, and the McDonald's, Tom, shout out to you, loved the coverage on from the game that you had on TVL Sportsnet, and they shared it on Facebook. So I commented on it, mentioning it was great to see the TVL Sportsnet, but also people enjoying the coverage. So it was awesome.
Absolutely. That was a fun game to cover. Not so much for the Hiller fans, but good win for Medfield in that one for sure. So there's your high school sports kind of wrap. Amazing games going on right now. Amazing teams are left, and we look forward to seeing how it all plays out. And Steve, where are you going to be this week? You probably already mentioned it.
Nowhere right now. So Nitmuck is out.
You got Milford,
boys
though, right?
Yeah, the boys one and done. Girls didn't make it. Milford boys are still afloat. Play at Malden Catholic. I will be near there. I'll be at the Bruins game, but I won't be actually there. So if it wasn't the same that it is one of my Bruins games, I'd be there. But hopefully they can pull out the win. Won't be easy, though.
You'll be watching the live stream while you're at the Bruins game, right?
Well, it's at 6 o'clock. I'll probably be parked by then. So, yeah, I'll probably have the live stream on, and the game will probably be over by the time the first period ends. So,
there you go.
It'll be good. And, hopefully they win. If I did look at Malden Catholic's resume, they played Millbury, who I had over Nitmuck in the tournament just before Christmas. And They played a very low scoring, kind of grinded out game. They beat Millbury, but a defensive lower scoring game, that's the kind of game Milford could be comfortable in. So if they can get the game on that track, you never know. They could pull it out. I think that's the type of the game that they'd have to win, though.
Yes, absolutely. Now, speaking of awesome things you're at, Steve, you had the opportunity to check out the Four Nations Championship at the TD Garden. And since we've been away for a few weeks, we didn't get really a chance to address the Four Nations tournament. But how awesome was that? I mean, you have the NFL trying new things with their All-Star break, NBA, the NHL just surpasses all of them. What the NBA and NFL did, no one cared about. It
No.
didn't work. What the NHL did was just even more awesome than you could ever imagine. Steve, talk about your experience at that championship game and just how awesome was the Four Nations tournament.
Yeah, so the league hit a grand slam with the whole tournament. It was great, start to finish. Great hockey. So many great players. You're just in awe of the talent that we are all blessed to watch on a pretty much nightly basis if you're a hockey fan. So much talent. The championship game, USA Canada, we wouldn't have it any other way, would we? Fantastic battle. Obviously, wish the US would have won. Still a great game, great battle though. It's something that a lot of us are talking about pregame though. Connor McDavid, you give that guy an inch, you'll be sorry. You'll pay for it. And what happens in OT? He gets the puck with a wide open look. And before we even realize that he has the puck with a wide open look, it's already in the net. So he's just too
Canada
fast
should have
and
had
too
a
good.
beat twice, though, since USA won one.
Yeah. That game up in Montreal, the 3 fights in 9 seconds, that was just crazy. That was crazy to see that. That was a great game, too. The championship was a great
every
game.
year. They should really do it every year.
Yeah.
Forget the All-Star game. Do this every
year.
Yeah,
if I'm the NHL, I don't know how you can go back to the All-Star break and all that stuff that you had before that. It just doesn't cut it.
I think there's been issues in the past with the Players Association, but because guys do get injured and some guys are out, not necessarily the Players Association, but the owners, they don't want to lose their guys, where guys have come back. But it reminds me of, Steve, remember like the late 90s, the World Cup of Hockey and how big that was for USA when they lost the first one in the US and it was the best of three. They had to go up to Canada to win two in a row if they wanted to win it. They did. And these are the heavyweights of USA hockey. Dougie Weight, Keith Kachuk, Chris Chelios, Mike Richter and net. And that was like power forwards. These weren't guys like the skill they are today. But it also shows how tremendous the US crop of talent is. And it's not just the Boston kids anymore. It's not just the Minnesota. We're getting kids from California, Arizona, Texas. And I think that puts a scare in Canada. I mean, we've been seeing it for many years at the World Juniors, USA winning that, and and the disappointment that Canada has. The last couple of years, Canada's just been so disappointed in not even being in the gold medal game. But it's super exciting. It does kill me to see Bennington, win that game in the Garden. Reminds me of the St. Louis Game 7. That was painful. I just want to see him lose a game, whether it's or Bruins or St. Louis. But hard not to just really reaffirm how much we love hockey, and how passionate they are, how much they care about the game, how they're different than any other sport, and how exciting it is to be a USA hockey fan
and how proud they are to represent their country too.
Love that. Yes.
You put that country across the chest. I mean,
we needed it too. Like I feel like we needed something to root to get when everyone could get on the same team for something. It's been a while since we've done that, and hockey I think did that where people who don't watch hockey watch that game because they had some invested interest in USA. It's awesome.
Was it like the highest rated hockey game ever?
It was. I think it was 15 million people watched. Which is fantastic for hockey. It's not going to ever beat the Super Bowl. It can compete with the NBA at times, and it probably is going to get closer too when you just look at, the product. But what a game! Tough way to lose, and like you said, Steve, It just shows like you can make one mistake and that's the game. And
Yep.
Matthews had a little kind of he didn't know whether to go into the corner to kind of take that guy or, take McDavid in front of the net. And you can't leave McDavid in front of the net wide open. I mean, that puck went off his stick so fast.
Yeah, that's the
Jared, any
problem with that.
thoughts? Oh, Jared, you there?
Oh,
Any
yeah, no,
thoughts
I'm
on
sorry.
the
I was on mute there. My bad. Um, I think you guys know I'm Canadian by trade, but I was fully rooting for the US. I was happy Canada won. Again, full preface it, I was actually fully rooting for the US. Um, you guys both mentioned it. How do you leave McDavid that wide open? He could have, I think he buries that 100 out of 100 times. I mean,
Yep.
there was nobody within 35 feet of him. I mean, no, I mean, obviously I'm being facetious there, but like, it was ridiculous. You leave the best player in hockey that wide open in that position.
Yep.
You know what it
Well,
also shows too, guys, and I see this with the high school level. I talked about it about Westwood before they went to the playoffs, is people elevate their games in the playoffs. Like Michael Ryder, what he did in the playoffs is far better than what he would do in
Yeah.
the regular season. He'd score big goals, and some guys just elevated. It's in their in their blood. And to see which players have that on Team USA, and it wasn't like the big wholesale names. It was just, like it was the kid, the captain on the Red Wings, stud, and the Kachucks. Like it just shows you, you don't necessarily need a guy like I love Pasternak, but sometimes it's more of, you need the guy who's going to take it to the net and just get some greasy goals. And, you have a defense, and that's how Florida took down the Bruins, is just strangleholds on tight checking, good goaltending, and some greasy goals and timely goals too.
you need pasta though if you're the Bruins. Don't be hating on my pasta.
I like him. I just think come playoff time, it's a different pasta in my opinion.
That's true. He hasn't been as good in the playoffs as of late. Well, I think that's a good transition. How about we talk some Bruins? And Steve, I know you've been at a number of big Bruins games lately. I'm sure you have many thoughts and probably some anger built up. So take it away, Steve. What are your latest Bruins thoughts?
Well, as you sit here on March 3rd, this team is not in the playoff picture. The season ends for this team April 15th, and I think it'll be the same way. They are not a playoff team. This is a team that needs a hot streak to get in, and they do not look capable of going on a hot streak to get in. It just they have some good talent, but the pieces just haven't clicked. It's a flawed team. And now they've had flawed teams in the past, but they've been able to cover it up with good goaltending. What have they not gotten this year? Good goaltending. When you don't have good goaltending, the flaws are exposed for everyone to see, and that's what's happened this year. And despite all that, they're still in the playoff picture. They're only a couple points out. They're still there, but this team we need to call a spade a spade. This team just does not appear capable of going on that run to get above that cut line.
Yes, I have to agree. And by the way, some breaking news. Matt Kachuk out extended period of time for the Panthers with lower body injury. So that one stings for the Panthers. I don't know what an extended amount of time is, but I'm guessing he's not going to be back anytime soon. So
Apparently, he's out the rest of the regular season. They hope to get him back on time for the postseason.
that's rough.
Well,
Yep.
speaking of the Panthers, covering the Westwood HCAM game in Hopkinton, and who texted me saying he's watching, but the chief strategy officer of the Florida Panthers, Westwood high hockey player Mark Zarther. So
Ah,
he was tuning in, and I was loving the coverage, Tom.
excellent. Well, if the Florida Panthers ever need announcers, they should call us up. We'll
Call
go
the
have
big
them.
dogs, absolutely,
We'll take over. We'll get a good show going for them.
absolutely.
But Steve, yeah, I gotta agree with you about the Bruins. They just can't seem to get a consistent streak going. Uh, they'll get one good win and then they'll go and turn around and lose to a team that they have no business losing to. I don't see any consistency with this Bruins team. I have very low hope that they're going to go anywhere. I mean, standings wise, they could sneak in to like an eighth seed or something like that, but I think if anything, if they somehow get in, they'll be one and done. Do any of you guys have any hope for this Bruins team at all? Because my hope is very low.
No, this team stinks. Like, what, honestly, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, as Steve said it, there's so many flaws with this team. Again, which is wild for a team that has a good amount of talent on it. I don't think there's any doubt there. There's a ton of talent on this team. But yeah, just I mean, far too inconsistent, far too many mistakes, far too inconsistent. I mean, again, how do you beat the Penguins, then come back and lose 1-0 to the Wild?
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we snuck in, I would I would say we probably lose unless we pull off some crazy stuff. But again, we got to try to at least sneak in first. And I don't think we're a playoff team. I fully agree with Steve. This is not a playoff team, and hopefully, Sweeney will go. And I don't know. I mean, actually, I don't know. I mean, that's a weird one, but yeah, I mean, this team somehow needs to improve and hopefully get better for the next couple of years because this season is far too not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? The top five wild cards get in, right? So you got Montreal, Philly, and the Islanders right on your heels.
Top two wild cards get in. So top three in each of the divisions, and then the top two wild cards.
Ah, okay. So yeah, they got a lot of work to do. I don't think they're getting in. I don't have a
The-
lot of hope for them. By the way, how awesome is it? How awesome was that? What was it? The Columbus Detroit game the other day.
oh,
Outdoors,
Love the
that was
stadium
fantastic.
series.
yeah. Tom, I was going to say the worst thing for the Bruins is to be close to the playoff, um, the playoff sphere, and to think they're a playoff team and to not do anything that's going to benefit them for the future. Where the Bruins, we're in the playoffs. We need to, keep the guys we have. I think they got to make changes. They have to. I mean, this was so disappointing this season, and I think getting rid of Montgomery certainly wasn't the right decision. They haven't gotten better since they left him. Montgomery brought a little spark. He was very offensive. Like after you saw Claude Julian, who was a defensive-minded coach, and it was all about taking care of the front of the net. It was so good to just see a little bit different offense style of offense that created goals. But I think hey, you got some really good talent. You got a really good goalie down in Providence. Take some risks. Someone's going to want a playoff goalie and potentially in Swayman. I think also you have to consider Marchand as well. I'd keep Pasternak, but I think you gotta consider these. And there's no like the biggest slam dunk decision you got to make this offseason is getting rid of Sweeney.
Yeah, that's my next question. If you're the Bruins, do you go younger, or I mean, because you're obviously, or do you try to salvage the season at all?
I
If
think
you're
you
the
can do
owner, what are
both.
you doing?
I think you could do both. But when I look at Sweeney, it all starts in the 2015 draft. You had three first round picks basically right in the middle of the draft, and you look at some of these guys that went after, and also all three of those players aren't even in a Bruins uniform. Granted, DeBrusk I think is a solid player. Disappointed it didn't work out. I thought he played well in the playoffs, but I think they got to probably do a combination of both. Maybe you start off with one player where it's like shock factor, but you also get some good returns. But I think doing that also shows the players like anything can happen. And I think that decision's got to be made by like Neely, someone above that is going to be there for the long haul. I just don't. Sweeney's not the guy. He's played it pretty safe come trade deadline for the last several years. So I think they got to do a little bit of both.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens. They obviously need to change there, that's for sure. I think you probably maybe want to go a little younger at this point. Steve, do you have any thoughts on that? What should the Bruins do trade wise? Do you try to salvage the season at all, or do you go younger, or do you do anything at the trade deadline?
I would listen to every phone call that comes in. I would try and sell some pieces. Whoever you don't envision on the team come October, I would try and move them out. And at the same time, you got to figure out what the vision is in terms of the coaching staff. Are you going to retain any of the current coaching staff? If you're not, then who are you looking for as a coach? What's their style going to be? What kind of players are they going to want? I agree with Morgan. They're in probably the worst possible spot right now because they're still on the cusp of making the playoffs. but they're kind of it's like stuck in that no man's land. It doesn't warrant wholesale changes, but it doesn't warrant going forward either.
Mhm.
So there's only 2 games left before the deadline on Friday, so they won't have much clearer of an answer by then. But do I think they need to tear it down and blow it up? No, that's not the answer. They have good core pieces. It's the supporting cast that they just don't have much to work with there. And as far as Don Sweeney goes, I think firing him would be a humongous mistake. That guy will have a job in 5 minutes if they fire him. He's kept the team competitive. He's kept the roster competitive for his entire 10 years. They only missed his first year, the postseason, and it went down the final day of the season. So, I think he's gotten a lot more than what most GMs would get from this roster. And he's made the moves to keep the team competitive. At some point, the players have to be – it's on the players. They've been given the pieces. They're the ones who haven't gotten it done. Do I love the fact that we've gone through a few coaches in his tenure? No, but that's hockey. A lot of teams blow through coaches. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of questions to answer. They need to have a clear vision for the future. But firing Don Sweeney or Cam Neely is not the answer. Both of them will be around next fall.
Absolutely. Jared, anything you want to add?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, it is a weird spot. You guys, I mean, again, Morgan said it best. Like, it's what do you do? How do you tackle this trade deadline? And it's I'm kind of I see both sides. Like somebody like Marchand, I would fully want to keep, but I could also see listening to offers for him. Again, I think getting rid of Montgomery might have been the wrong move. I mean, Dallas is playing good hockey right now too, to boot. So, yeah, but it's it's not ideal to be a Bruins fan right now, and it's again, it's just a weird spot to be in. I'll be curious to see what happens, but yeah,
All
that's all I
right.
got.
Well, we'll see what happens with the Bruins. They could still perhaps sneak in, but they haven't been great, so they're probably not going to do much. But I want to get to that other Boston team, that team that won a championship last year called the Boston Celtics. They're having a pretty good season. They've had some big games recently. Got a very nice win this past Sunday against the Denver Nuggets. That win was just sweet. Great win at home. They're in second place in the East, 43-18. Kind of catching the Cavs a little. Cavs still 7.5 ahead. I don't know if they will end up catching them. Probably not. Very disappointing game against the Cavs actually a few nights ago. They were up most of the game and ended up blowing it, losing by 6. But as far as the Celtics, I think it's pretty much the Celtics we saw last year. Obviously, they're not the rulers of the East this year with the Cavs, but I think they're just as good. I think they're a strong team, great bench pieces. Uh, they have to show a little more, I think, against some of these teams that are at the top, like the Cavs and like some of these teams in the West that they've struggled with. But that win against the Nuggets, that was a great win. I'd like to see them get red hot going into the playoffs as we near postseason time. To me, the Celtics team, they haven't really been able to get like any of those huge streaks going that we saw last year. It's been a little more up and down than last season. But any Celtics thoughts? Morgan, we'll start with you.
To be honest, Tom, that's probably one of the weaker parts of my sports knowledge. Is the Celtics right now? Just been kind of caught up with just the local stuff, but I will say, what a fun team to watch in them. And how awesome is it to see a guy like Al Horford, finally get one last year, and then to be able to really relive, go out there and make some amazing memories with the team that he loves, so dearly, and the team that loves him back. It wasn't
How
always
epic is it that he's back this year? Still
I know,
losing.
I know. You figure you would have gone out, John Elway go out on top. But I haven't. I got to be honest. I haven't caught too many games. I've been watching them from afar. But we are getting close to the best time of the year when it comes to the NHL and NBA playoffs. So I'll definitely defer to you, Jared, and Steve when it comes to the Celtics.
All right, Jared, any Celtics thoughts?
Yeah, I got a few. I don't really know where to start either. Um, I have caught a lot of Celtics games this year. This team is fun to watch. Just really weirdly vulnerable with a lead. Again, Tom mentioned the game against the Cavs the other night, 25-3. Came out absolutely scorching hot. Couldn't miss. Straight up couldn't miss. Um, yeah, and then, Mitchell hits a three, Mobley gets a dunk, build a little momentum. We have a couple of sloppy possessions. Next thing you know, it's a 22-point lead cut down to like six, and that's happened in far too many games this year, I think. For my liking at least. Again, I still like this team a lot. I love Joe Mazzulla. I think he's a fantastic coach. We do shoot a lot of threes, but we have guys that can shoot the three. Sure, we're not going to make, 40 or 50% of our threes every game. But, I mean, Jaylen Brown has been fantastic. Jason Tatum obviously still playing at a high level, but the supporting cast around him, I think, is interesting because, and actually we've been out without Drew Holiday recently too, which is tough. Because obviously I think that showed a little bit, but that win against the Nuggets was great. The supporting cast, I think, is one to watch right now because Porzingis can light it up at any minute. I love Derek White. I think Derek White brings just an absurd amount to this team at both ends of the court. He's such a good defender. Obviously, can shoot, take it to the hole. Just makes plays. Really knows how to make plays. But then you got to get those contributions from guys like Al, Torrey Craig now. Some of the other guys that come off the bench. Keita even when he gets minutes. And I think if we put that all together, we will again be tough to beat in the playoffs. I'm actually not sure that we could beat Cleveland in a 7-game series. They are tremendous. Donovan Mitchell is elite. He played outstanding the other night against the Celtics. Probably a huge reason why the Cavs won. But yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely be dangerous in the playoffs. I'll be curious to see though if we could beat the Cavs in a 7-game series though, because that would be probably pretty difficult.
Yeah, to me, I think
Yeah.
Cavs are the biggest threat in the East, no doubt. They're a good team. They're a really good
They're
team.
legit. And they don't, I mean, like Mitchell's a star, but they just have pieces around him too. Darius Garland is a really good point guard. Evan Mobley is fantastic inside. Even Jared Allen at center has contributed, and Strus shooting pretty well. They just have guys that are really contributing, and I mean they're really well coached too by Kenny Atkinson, former Warriors assistant coach.
It's great to see the Cavs good again before LeBron's.
Without LeBron now.
Steve, any
Um,
Celtics thoughts you want to
yeah.
add?
Yes, the Celtics are once again a good team. They're definitely in the running to win the championship again. Well, last year, that was an all-time great team, one of the best in the history of the league. This team is not as good as that. They've been just okay at home. They're 19-11 at home. I don't see them catching the Cavs. They are 24-7 on the road, so I'm not too worried about a Game 7. I think they still have a good chance in a Game 7. I agree with Jared. I could see the Cavs taking them down in a 7-game series. This team, they go into these weird funks. They're still a very good team, but you go into a funk at the wrong time in the postseason, and it maybe takes you a little longer to snap out of. And by the time that you do snap out of it, it's too late. So I could see them stopping them in the postseason. So if I had to pick right now, I'm going to say they are not going to repeat as champions.
I think they have the skill and talent, and they're obviously very well coached to repeat. But again, I think I do agree that this team maybe isn't quite nearly as good as last year. Again, would I be surprised if they won it all? No, but I
Same here.
would be a little surprised if they could handle the Cavs, in a pretty high manner
Yeah.
in the playoffs for sure.
And I do hope we're both wrong. I hope they do repeat. I just don't see a clear path to repeating. And not to mention the West is absolutely stacked compared to the East.
I mean, the Thunder are wicked this year. The
It's
Thunder is
crazy.
so
So
good defensively.
Right
They're
now,
insane.
the top 10 of the West all have winning records. The top 10 make the playoffs,
The
obviously.
West is very strong this year, a lot stronger
Really
than last
good.
year.
Yeah, and then in the East, you only have 6 who have a winning record. The 7 through 10 are all at least 3 under 500. So the West is much better, much more competitive
Yeah.
than the East.
Guys, as an outsider, when is the NBA trade deadline, and what are the pieces you think the Celtics need to then put them right back where you feel good about their chances?
So that actually happened already. That was on February
Oh,
6th.
damn.
It did indeed. It
Yeah.
did
I
indeed.
was gonna say, what do you think of Adam Stern? And I just know all this stuff.
Absolutely, Tom.
uh, yeah, the West is a lot more stacked. It's a lot more competitive than last year. I mean, last year you had no East really, except maybe the Pacers. But the East was miserable, and the West wasn't great either. For some reason, there wasn't really many good teams.
So, question for you guys, because I was out in Cleveland in January, and I did get a chance to see Cleveland play the Suns. And I was so impressed with Donovan Mitchell because I always remember him being like a good player, solid, like pretty good. Is he now elite? Is he now in that elite category where he's the guy, he's the man, like in that jersey that's like gonna have the ball in his hands, like when it matters the most, and be that leader? Because I always remember him here, but when I watched him, he was there. Has he made that jump?
I think so. Again, I mean, if you try to compare him to some of the other stars in the league,
Yeah,
maybe it's tough, but certainly with how good they are, he's been a massive, massive, massive contributor to that. I mean, again, he knows how to again make big plays. He's a fantastic shooter. He can take it to the hole. He's a really good defender. Just a really high IQ basketball player. Again, like I don't know if you consider him a top whatever 5, 6, 7, whatever 8, 10 even player in the league. Maybe, but yeah, I mean, he is at least for that team. He is, I think, probably the leader of that team. I mean, again, he doesn't even play point guard. Darius Garland has done a terrific job at point guard, but again, what Donovan Mitchell has brought is ridiculous. And I will add Donovan Mitchell, Brewster Academy. He did a year at
wow,
Brewster Academy
wow,
in Wilbur, New Hampshire. I actually went to Brewster for a couple of years. That's why I mentioned that.
great basketball.
Um,
I went to Bridgeton, so
okay.
really good basketball amongst the prep school teams.
Coach Smith is one of the best coaches in the country, I think. He is
Yeah,
ridiculous. He's so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I remember. So even like there was Maine MCI and Caron Butler went there. Like a lot of these NBA players do a
Yeah.
year there before they head off to college, and it's amazing basketball.
I remember when I was there, actually, just real quick, I think I was a sophomore, and Brewster was hosting New Hampton,
Yeah,
who had Rashad McCants, former
yeah,
UNC standout. I'm a big UNC fan.
yeah,
So you might hear me talk a lot about UNC Duke later in Final
yeah,
Thoughts.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, watching McCants play when he was at New Hampton was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He came and he absolutely tore it up. New Hampton beat Brewster that night. I think he had 42. He was absurd, and it was just so fun to watch that high level of basketball. You know,
Was Donovan is he a Connecticut kid, or is there Connecticut ties with Donovan Mitchell?
not that I know of.
Okay, for some reason I thought
Maybe
there.
I'm wrong. I know. I mean, he went to Louisville for
Yeah,
college. I don't know, unless I
not
don't know
not
anything.
college wise.
We'll have to look that up for next show.
Yeah,
But speaking of basketball and college basketball, which was mentioned briefly, we'll have our March Madness show coming up in a couple weeks. We'll get our brackets out there and talk some college basketball. And we ran out of time for NFL free agency, so we'll do that next show as well. Uh, the one story I saw in the NFL today, just to mention it real quickly, was Bengals franchising T. Higgins. And the Eagles cut six-time Pro Bowl cornerback Darius Slay. So those are the two big stories I saw. If you guys want to add on anything NFL and your final thoughts, feel free. Because we did save a few minutes for final thoughts where we go around the table and spend a couple of minutes talking about what you want to talk about. For final thoughts today, we'll start with Jared.
Oh, I got a couple here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll try to be brief though. I'm a huge UNC basketball fan. This is a massive week. Virginia Tech tomorrow night, and then hosting Duke on Saturday. Could probably determine whether we make the tournament or not this year, which is kind of gross. I mean, you obviously think of UNC as a powerhouse that's always making the tournament. but this has been a rough season. Some pretty bad losses. Although we have played one of the toughest schedules in the country. I think we're 1-10 against the top 25, but no, 1-11. But I think 9 of those 11 losses have been against the top 10, and a few by like four less points, including Auburn, Florida, etc. But yeah, just the Duke game on Saturday is just going to be massive. I'm going to be so jacked up for that. I can't even describe. Just enormous. I also just want to mention that this is probably going to be one of my favorite times of the year. My birthday is actually in a few weeks, my 40th birthday, which is so absurd. I can't even really think about that. But
We'll have to have
yeah,
a
I mean, just having like
celebration
March
on the show.
Madness and the playoffs, and it's just the best time of the year.
Well,
So
happy almost birthday, Jared.
March 20th, 17 days.
Let's
You don't
go.
look a day over 39.
I also actually just want to add as well, because I didn't get to mention it before, the Four Nations tournament was fantastic. Even just from the first game, Canada, Sweden, you could tell that it was just such high level. Just so great for the NHL, for the league, everybody that involved. Again, Steve said it best, but yeah, it was just such a fun tournament to watch. Loved every second of that.
Absolutely. Steve, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited to see the tournaments wrap up here for basketball and hockey here in Massachusetts with the MIAA over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully some of the teams from our local areas can make it to Lowell for basketball or the Garden for hockey. So we'll see what happens. Very exciting, whether you're a student athlete, coach, teacher, media, whoever. A very exciting time for everyone involved. So, and as for our proteins, it's going to be an intriguing week for the Bruins. They haven't been in this spot in a long time. Usually they're in buy mode at the deadline. So yeah, we'll see what happens between now and Friday. It could be, it could be very quiet. It could be really chaotic on Friday. There's a lot of teams who are in the same boat. There's only a handful of really good teams. There's only a handful of really bad teams. There's a ton in that middle. Like, maybe they're contender, maybe they're not. So how it all shakes out, I have no idea. We'll find out. But other than that, yeah, that's all I got. And definitely ready for winter to be over and spring weather to roll in and get spring sports rolling.
Yes, daylight savings time coming up.
This weekend, heck yeah.
Forward. All right. Morgan, any final thoughts?
Yeah. So I just looked up, I guess Mitchell played at Canterbury before New Hampton. So that was the Connecticut connection. So, pretty interesting. He's a New York guy. My final thought is we talk about the high school playoffs, how awesome that is. Obviously, NHL, NBA playoffs. But college hockey, man, that playoffs, the Hockey East right around the corner. And there's a lot of Northeast teams. University of Maine's having a good year. Always college hockey's at its best, in my opinion, when University of Maine is in the mix. It's probably the best jerseys in college hockey. They got the similar, the North Carolina Tar Heels, the baby blue, powder blue uniforms. And the Hockey East, it reminds you of the Four Nations. Like when you're at or watching the Hockey East Championship, even the Beanpot, they're putting it all out there on the line. They leave nothing behind, and they want to win more than anything. And it's just such an amazing product to watch. Also, keep an eye too. There's always like probably about 5, 10 players each year that are free agents, when their college hockey season's over. And, a couple examples, Torrey Krug never got drafted. Bruins signed him as a free agent. He was like already playing his first couple games, maybe a week later. Jimmy Vesey, he was a Hobie Baker winner and wasn't drafted. And the Rangers signed him. I was disappointed. I thought the Bruins were a perfect fit, hometown kid and all that. So keep an eye on that too. I think there'll be some free agents, college kids that might be players that could help the Bruins, and this is always a time where they throw them into some games late in March, April, and get a flavor for it. They did that with McAvoy years back before he started. So best time of year for hockey.
Absolutely, gotta love the hockey, the college hockey playoffs in the Frozen Four. A lot of fun. All right, I guess it's time for my final thoughts. And I got one. I wasn't able to talk about this on the show since it's been a while, so here it is. First place. All right, I had to get my bragging in. All right, that was our NFL picks, and that's what we do on the show every year, Morgan.
Love it.
Next year you'll be in on this. But
Yeah.
these were the Super Bowl picks, and while I didn't do good in the Super Bowl picks, I still finished first place for the season, so I'll take it. I believe this is my second straight year repeating as champion, so I'm very proud. Andy Barron finished in a very close second place, only a half point behind me. Jared, you were right in there at 205.5. You came crawling back because of how good you did in the Super Bowl and almost surpassed Andy. A couple picks kept Andy ahead of you. Mike got 201 points, and Steve, you finished in dead last at 192.5.
Oh, man.
Steve, you have some improving
Brutal.
next season. So I guess you'll be the one sleeping on the press box as part of the bet we made. But
Nice and cold out there, too.
So I had to get my brag again. Just had to do it.
Well done. Well done. Golf clap. Golf clap.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Besides that, I want to thank all the Hopkinton Hiller fans for watching all winter season long. I didn't really get a chance to say my full out thank you since there was a lot of games on the road to close out the winter playoffs. So a big thank you to all the Hiller fans that tuned in. It was certainly a lot of fun bringing you Hopkinton Hiller winter sports all season long. And we look forward to the spring season, which is approaching rapidly. So we'll have a whole lot of coverage for you in the spring. We'll have the usual sports and, of course, boys volleyball being added this year as well. So that'll be a lot of fun to cover some Hiller boys volleyball. We'll have those home games live on HCAM as well. But that is just about going to do it for the show today. A big thank you to Steve, Jared, and Morgan Donahue, brand new to the show. So happy to have you on. We hope you'll come back, and we didn't horrify you that bad. But for everyone at HCAM, I'm Tom Nappi. As always, we thank you for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bay Path may have outgrown its space, but not its mission. We need your help to build a new facility that matches our capabilities and dedication. Join us and help ensure we can continue to provide exceptional care and find loving homes for animals for years and years to come. Thank you.
This program is brought to you in part by TVLsports.net. You can view the standings, stories, pictures, highlights, and more about the 12 teams in the Tri-Valley League at TVLsports.net. TVLsports.net is an independent news and media website reporting on the TVL and is not associated with the MIAA, Tri-Valley League, or any town or school.
Welcome to Hopkinton Cares, a website to connect volunteers with community organizations. To create an account, click the round icon on the top right and select Register. Fill in your name and email, then select either a volunteer or organization account. Then submit, and you will receive an email when your account is activated. Then visit Hopkinton Cares, click the icon and select Sign In. If you have a Gmail account, just select that and you're in. If you do not use Gmail, put your email in the second field and click the Sign In with Email button. You will receive an email to log in. You will need to receive a link each time you log in. If you are a community organization, everything is the same, except when you register, there is an additional field for your organization name. Once logged in, you can create a volunteer opportunity for the community to see.